God used 40 years to shape Moses into the leader that he needed to be for the people of Israel. Because that's what God can do when we wait. Sometimes that's why God causes us to wait. So that he can mold us and shape us and make us into who we need to be. Some of this that we're going to dive into a little more deeply over the next couple of weeks. But I did want to give you just some things to think about and things to recognize that are good, that are beneficial when God calls me and causes me to wait. And one of those is that waiting can actually increase my awareness of God's presence. That when I get so focused on my schedule and my stress and my agenda and my plans and my perspectives, I can get so wrapped up in that I neglect to see what God is doing in my life. Until I think, oh, I need him. And maybe God has been there. Maybe God has even been doing some things in my life and moving in some powerful ways. And I just haven't seen it because I'm so wrapped up in my plans and my perspectives. And there are those times when I have to be still and wait for God to answer or God to move. It actually will help me see, oh, look what God has been doing. Look how God was already working and I wasn't paying attention to it. Back in the book of Exodus, the second book of the Bible, we find out about God's people Israel being enslaved in Egypt for hundreds of years, and God sets them free. And they're moving as quickly as they can to this land that God has promised to give to them. But the king of Egypt changes his mind and says, I want those slaves back. And so he sends his army after them to go recapture them. And the Israelites come to the shores of the Red Sea, and they got this army coming from behind, and they feel trapped. We can't go anywhere. We got Red Sea in front of us. We got army behind us. What are we going to do? We got to do something. Should we try to find another way around? Should we try to renegotiate with these guys that are going to come and attack us? What should we do? And they're panicking and they're distressed. What do we do? And God, through Moses, tells his people in Exodus chapter 14, verse 14, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to what? Be still. Wait. Hold on. I've got this. And he did. God parts the Red Sea. The people walk across on dry ground. God caused the sea to collapse back on the army that was chasing them. They completely escaped. Not only that, if you pay attention, God was there the whole time in the first place. The cloud that represented his presence was with them the whole time. As a matter of fact, it ended up moving behind Israel and coming between them and the army that was chasing after them so that army couldn't catch up with them. God was there. He was a part of it. He was rescuing them. He was taking care of them. They just couldn't see it until they had to wait. And when they got still and they waited, they saw, look what God's been doing. Look what God's plan has been. I see it now. You see, sometimes waiting is good for us because sometimes when we wait, we actually take the time to see God's presence, God's power that we weren't paying attention to before. Waiting is a good thing because waiting can also build my faith. When I have to wait for God to answer, when I have to wait for God to move or to reveal his purpose or to heal, whatever it is, it can and it should help my faith to grow. Now, I will acknowledge, sometimes when I allow it to, waiting can actually chisel away at my faith. Waiting can cause me to doubt. Waiting can cause me to question if God is really going to do what he says he's going to do. And I have to acknowledge that. I mean, going back to the Israelites, right? You know, they move from the Red Sea, they move into the wilderness, they come to this mountain, Mount Sinai, and God reveals his presence there, and Moses goes up on the mountain to talk with God and to get, you know, God's laws for his people and to establish his covenant. He's going to be their God, they're going to be his people. But while he's up there, while Moses is up there on the mountain, you know what the Israelites thought? This is taking too long. We don't like waiting. We don't even know what happened to that guy Moses. He may be dead up on the mountain for all we know. So let's pick another god. And they melted down a bunch of gold and they made a giant golden calf and started worshiping it. Why? because they had to wait. So I will acknowledge sometimes if I let it, waiting will chisel away at my faith. But what it should do, if it's God calling me to wait, if it's God causing me to wait, it should increase my faith. When I hold on, when I trust, okay, God hasn't given me that answer yet. He hasn't revealed his purpose yet. He hasn't done what I believe that he's going to do, but I still believe he is. I'm going to wait and see. He's going to do something. Even if it's not what I want, I know he's going to do something. I'm going to wait for it. That is faith. That is growing faith. That is strengthening faith. There's another example of Jesus healing someone, actually the same, kind of in the middle of the same story as him healing the woman with the bleeding condition in Mark chapter 5. There's a guy named Jairus that comes to him who has a daughter who is sick at home, who is near death. And this guy comes to Jesus and he says, will you heal my daughter? And Jesus had the power and the ability to just say, done, she's healed. He didn't even have to go to the guy's house. But he says, yeah, I'll go with you. And they start moving that direction. And in the process, they have to work their way through a crowd. This woman with a bleeding condition comes up, gets healed. Jesus starts having a conversation with her. And you can just imagine that Jairus is over on the side going, great, 12 years bleeding, better now, awesome, but let's go. My daughter, remember Jesus? You know he's just standing over there going, until messengers come from his house and say, don't bother Jesus anymore because your daughter has died. It took too long. Jesus says in Mark chapter 5, verse 36, overhearing them, Jesus told them, don't be afraid, just believe. Hold on to your faith. I'm not done. Keep waiting. Because I'm about to do something. He goes to Jairus' house and he raises his little girl back to life. There are those moments. I say a moment. It may be an extended period of time. When I'm waiting for God to do what I ask him to do, what I expect him to do, what I want him to do, or just to do something I'm not even expecting, just show me. Just let it happen. And God says, I will. I will. Can you wait? Can you trust? Can you still trust in me? That even if this isn't happening according to your schedule, even if this isn't happening as fast as you want it to, can you still hold on to our relationship? Because that's what waiting can do. It can build my faith. It can strengthen it if I allow it to. Waiting can also help to shape me. Now, we're going to talk about this more next week, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here today. But in that time of waiting, in that time of looking for God's answer and looking for God's plan of action, God uses those times often to shape people, to mold them, to help them become whatever it is that he plans for their life, whoever it is that he has designed them to be. I mean, I keep going back to the Israelites coming out of Egypt, but y'all remember the guy that God sent to lead his people out of Egypt? A guy named Moses? We find out about him in the very first part of the book of Exodus. And Moses, God picked Moses. You are going to lead my people out of slavery. You're going, and God knew that from the beginning. When Moses was born, God knew, this is the guy. This is the guy that's going to lead my people out of slavery. You know what Moses was doing before he became the leader of the people of Israel? He was watching sheep. Exodus chapter 3 and verse 1. Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law. How long was he doing that? 40 years. 40 years. What do you think God was doing with Moses during that whole time? That he was watching a bunch of sheep. And he's watching a bunch of animals that can't fend for themselves. That make dumb decisions sometimes. That go wandering off in directions that they shouldn't. that need someone to protect them and lead them to places that are beneficial for them. What did Moses do for the people of Israel? Took them to places where they could find protection. Took care of them. Led them in the direction they should go. Steered them back when they were going off in a direction that they shouldn't. God used 40 years to shape Moses into the leader that he needed to be for the people of Israel. Because that's what God can do when we wait. Sometimes that's why God causes us to wait, so that he can mold us and shape us and make us into who we need to be.